Tracking macros can be very overly complicated, but only if you make it overly complicated. That is why today I'm going to break down all of my favorite tips and tricks to utilize MyFitnessPal, which is my chosen tracking app. I know some people may not be a fan of it. Honestly, I have found no issues with the free version, and their library is the most extensive of any tracking app that I have encountered. And today I'm going to show you all of my favorite tips and tricks that make tracking macros 10 times easier for me to stick to. But before I get into that, let me introduce myself. If you don't already know, I am Kelsey Nanini, certified strength and conditioning specialist and certified nutrition coach. I am here to help you go from frequent gym goer to strong, confident, educated athlete. And as mentioned, today I'm going to do just that by showing you all my favorite tips and tricks on MyFitnessPal. First, let's just go through a day of tracking. Now, you're going to see my calories on here, but please do not compare my macros to yours. Mine are very specific to my current goals, my history within dieting, what I have done more recently, and my body essentially. So my body is very different from your body. You could try to follow my macros, but honestly, you're probably going to get nowhere with them. Having a trusted coach that can set macros for you and help you along the way is something I absolutely recommend. It's what I have pretty much always done, and I find that it is so much more helpful to just outsource that so that I'm not trying to do it myself. If you would like to see a video of potentially how to track your own macros and how to set your own macros, I am definitely up for that, so let me know in the comments below if that is something that you'd be interested in. So today I'm going to literally cover everything that I utilize on a daily basis within MyFitnessPal to hopefully make this a much easier process for you. Let's go ahead and get into the app here. You're gonna see this dashboard for today, but we're just gonna start a whole new day. So I use the free version. Some things may look a little bit different if you do pay for it. Honestly, I paid for it back in like 2018, and I know you can't use the barcode feature now with this option, but I don't find an issue with it. You'll see here that this is breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then snacks. They're obviously all open right now because I haven't tracked yet for tomorrow. But at the top here with these calories remaining, you're going to notice it'll tell you how many calories you have left. Now, in my personal opinion, I don't pay attention to the calories remaining, mostly because that is going to vary based on how it's input into MyFitnessPal. So the FDA does allow for rounding to a certain extent. I believe it's up to 20% on a food label. This is important to note because if you are trying to hit macros and you're like so confused, like, okay, I'm hitting macros perfectly, why am I not hitting them in MyFitnessPal? That's because there's some rounding. So I suggest if you are tracking macros to just track macros and don't pay attention to calories as much. If you hit macros, you hit calories because 1 gram of carbs equals 4 calories. 1 gram of protein also equals 4 calories. And then 1 gram of fats equals 9 calories. So basically, if you are hitting macros, you're gonna hit your calorie goal regardless of what MyFitnessPal says. So you can ignore that top piece that says calories remaining. But what I actually do to find my macros and what I have left is I go to the calories remaining button up there, and it's gonna give me a full breakdown. Obviously, I haven't tracked anything yet, so ignore the fact that there's all zeros. Typically, I like to keep meals fairly similar, but I will tweak them day to day to make sure that I'm not just getting for a week straight the same exact nutrients in. Like, I like to get a mix of nutrients throughout the week versus just having the same exact things. That way I have variety in my diet. I'm not deficient in anything, hopefully. I feel the best when I do that, and also I don't get tired of the same old. But I'll typically keep lunches the same for the week and breakfasts the same for the week, and I always have the same exact pre-workout meal. So dinners typically vary, some snacks vary. My nighttime snack stays very similar every day because I look forward to it, but based on what I have for dinner and obviously the other meals will depict exactly what goes into that, but it's always a yogurt bowl. How I like to track macros is I start off by doing the meals that I know are consistent all the time, and that is my pre-workout meal. So I'm going to hit add food to my snacks, and I'm actually going to click down to the tab that says my meals, and that is going to pull up all of the meals that I save. 10 out of 10 recommends saving meals. If you tend to eat the same meals all the time, you can save them in here to make it way easier so you're not adding in, 5, 6 ingredients to a meal every single day. I'm just going to press that plus button, and that is going to input everything that I need for tomorrow's pre-workout meal. And then I also usually have a Alani Nu energy drink, so I'll just add that in as well. And then next what I'll do is I'll input in my post-workout meal, which is my breakfast. The reason I put in my pre-workout and my post-workout first is because I want to make sure that these meals are comprised of a lot of carbs and a lot of protein. So centering a lot of my amounts of those two things around these two meals to ensure that I am refueling my muscles and my body overall after a workout and going into a workout. I'm going to actually just copy breakfast from yesterday to tomorrow. I've been doing some pancake bowls, which I am obsessed with. So we're going to press these 3 dots and you're going to go to copy from date. I'm going to go to yesterday and press the check button. This was exactly what I had. So I have my little coffee in there as well as the pancake bowl, everything that's included in it. Another way that you can do this is, let's say that for tomorrow, I want to track what I'm having for lunch today, which is a salad and some potatoes. So I keep that pretty consistent as well during the week. Like I said, I just typically like to bulk buy a bunch of ingredients that I'll use throughout the whole week. So today I'm having this salad and I also want to have it tomorrow. So I'm going to click these 3 dots again, but I'm going to click copy to date. So this is going to copy to another date so I can just have the same exact thing. So I'm going to click to tomorrow and boom, I already have in 3 meals. So I have my pre-workout, I have my lunch, and I also have my breakfast. Now, let's say you want to change a few things around with the meal. I know that I actually am going to run out of chicken thighs today because I cooked up a bunch on Sunday, but I ran out, so I have rotisserie chicken as a backup. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to erase this. I'm also going to put in 150 grams of potatoes because I know I'll be able to have a little bit more tomorrow. And again, this comes naturally from tracking for so long, so don't get discouraged if you aren't quite at this quickness level yet. But I'm telling you, using these features will make tracking so much quicker for you. And then we have dinner left. So I believe tomorrow I have planned to make a just lemony shrimp pasta with some Parmesan. So I'm going to put in these all separately. So we have this Garofalo pasta. I think that's how you pronounce it, but it's probably not. And I know I'll be able to have 1 serving of it, so I'm just going to add that on in, and that's something I've already had before. Then I'm going to do some shrimp. If you don't have the paid version and you can't use the barcode, all I do is I look at the container of shrimp. So I know it's farm-raised shrimp, and this is going to pull up all the different ones. I know it's tail off, and I believe it's this one because I only remember off the top of my head, but always go to look because this cooked one is a little different. This one has no fats and it's different protein. So always make sure to double check the label because there are so many different options within MyFitnessPal. You want to make sure you're tracking accurately. So whenever you're putting something in for the first time, double check with the label, cross-reference. But let's say that you double checked with the label and you can't find that specific food. So you can add your own food. So you can go to My Foods up here, this tab, and we can create a food. So let's say we want to create the Kirkland shrimp. I want to say it's 60 count or something like that. So we'll just do it for that. And then let's say the serving size is 4 ounces and there's, 8 servings per container. I'm just guessing. So again, these are totally made up numbers. I'm just going to throw these out, but let's say there's 90 calories, 0.5 fat, because I do know that's in there. I'm going to leave all those blank, but you can add them in. There's none of these things. There's no carbs in it, no dietary fiber, which I always try to input in at least the dietary fiber and the carbs. Not too worried about sugars, and I don't think there is any in shrimp, and then I believe 22 protein. So you can add in all these other things if you'd like to, even if it says optional. I always try to add as much as I can in there just so I can track all of it. And then you'd press that check button. I'm not going to because I know it's already in here, but that is how you would add a food. And then you'd come here and you can see I've added some things in there just because I knew they weren't accurately tracked in MyFitnessPal the way I wanted them to be. So you can always add your own. I'm going to add in shrimp, and let's say I have 8. And then I know we're gonna put in some butter, so I'm just gonna add in about 5 grams of butter, and I'll make sure to like measure that out. So typically how I make a meal is it's like a serving of 3. My husband will have 2 servings, I'll have 1. So what I'll do is I'll just add in 15 grams of butter, knowing that I'm gonna have a third of the recipe. And then we are going to do some zucchini in there as well, which I already have here. Honestly, with veggies, you can kind of guesstimate unless it's going to be outrageously different. I always recommend like weighing it out at least a couple times to get an idea visually of what a certain amount looks like. But over time, it's easy to kind of more guesstimate. But I always recommend using a kitchen scale over using like a measuring cup, a tablespoon, that kind of thing, because the weight is always going to be most accurate, and oftentimes it does vary from a measuring apparatus, if you will. So we have the day nearly all tracked. I'll go up here and now you can see. So I have like 33 grams of protein left, and it'll tell me on the side 22 grams of carbs and 21 grams of fat. But I do want to show you a few other things. I'm not going to completely finish out the day, but I wanted to show you a few features that I love to use. First one is I made these chocolate zucchini muffins over the weekend, and I utilized the recipe feature to make sure it's as accurate as possible. So let's say that you're making a soup or a chili or, you know, something that you're kind of making in bulk, and you want to determine how much macros are in it, but it's homemade and the recipe you're using does not have the macros listed. So what you would do is create a recipe. Let's say you are making a chicken noodle soup. So there's gonna be 6 servings in it, and we're gonna do those Garofalo noodles. So let's do 3 servings of the pasta, and then we're just gonna do rotisserie chicken from Costco. And let's say we put in 4 servings of chicken. And then we're just gonna use chicken broth Kirkland. I always put the brand in because it can vary per brand. And let's say we put in 6 cups. And then we're gonna do celery, and let's say we're gonna put in 200 grams of celery, and then we're gonna add carrots, 200 grams of carrots as well. That's probably a lot, but oh well. And then we're actually going to add in some olive oil as well. I know 1 tablespoon of olive oil off the top of my head is 14 grams. You can always look at the olive oil you are using, and that's pretty much all we're using for our chicken noodle soup. And then what we do is click this arrow, and boom, it's going to show you the entire macro breakdown of that meal. Now, how do you make this as accurate as possible? You would want to either weigh out the pan before you put any ingredients in and get the weight of that pan. Let's say it weighs 800 grams. Then, once the soup is completed, you'd put the pan onto the scale and weigh out the new weight. Then you would subtract the weight of the pan from that total weight to get the weight of your soup and divide that by 6. Let's say it's 300 grams. Then 300 grams of that soup would be 1 serving. Obviously, it may vary a touch based on what ingredients you get in it. If you get more pasta or you get more chicken, but that's not something you necessarily need to like stress about unless you are needing to be accurate to the T when you are like competing for prep or something of that nature for like bodybuilding. And in that case, you probably wouldn't be making bulk recipes anyway. So not something you need to stress about. It's just a estimate. And at the end of the day, in my opinion, estimating is better than nothing. So that's how you would create a recipe. I love using that feature, especially if I'm trying to make something more homemade. Another feature to account for is my meals. The first option is doing it manually here. So you would just press create a meal. You can name it, and then you can add items through here. Another way that I find to be way easier because I already am tracking it is, so let's say I want to make this my breakfast a meal since I'm going to have it more often this week. Again, click those 3 dots. Click save as a meal, and boom, you have the exact breakdown. You also have the macros of it as well. This is another way if you don't pay for MyFitnessPal to see exactly what your macro breakdown is, because I know in the paid version of MyFitnessPal you can kind of see a macro breakdown with each meal. So I just save it as a meal and I can always see what exactly those macros are, so I know if I'm kind of staying on track for my goals. A few other things to note here. So if you need to change your macros, you're going to go to these 3 dots in the bottom right hand corner where more is listed, and you're going to click goals. Then you're going to click calorie, carbs, and protein and fat goals. And you can adjust them here. So you're just going to click that number and you can scroll them here to change them. That will also change obviously your calorie goals. One other thing we want to account for is the fact that MyFitnessPal, as you can see, will track your exercise in. We don't want that to happen. The reason being is that if your macros are set for you, whether it's a coach or you manually did it, however you got there, your daily expenditure should be included in. We don't want to eat back the calories that we are burning from exercise, because that's essentially just going already into your total daily energy expenditure, which is essentially your maintenance calories. So it's illogical to add more calories onto the calories you're burning from exercise, because we're technically already accounting for them. So what you're going to do is go to more, then you're going to go to steps, and you want to make sure that don't track steps is clicked. Another thing you want to do is go to goals and then go to exercise calories. And if you have premium, you can turn that off. If you don't have premium, just make sure that there aren't any apps that are connected. So like you'll see, I don't have any apps connected in here. If you connect your Apple Watch or your health app or anything like that, your exercise is going to automatically go into MyFitnessPal. So just make sure there aren't any connected apps and you should be good to go on that end. I hope that this video helped you with a few tips and tricks for MyFitnessPal and the easiest way to utilize it. Honestly, macros can feel super overwhelming, but my goal as a coach is to make nutrition and fitness and just that overall realm of health fit into your life versus your life having to fit into them. And the first part of that is making sure that nutrition feels easy and doable and not too overwhelming. So hopefully these tips and tricks did just that. So make sure to give this video a thumbs up, comment below if you have any questions, and if you have any suggestions for future videos you'd like to see from me, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.